to execute defensively and turn them over a little bit, and then step up and hit some really big shots.
Gators get back at home for their weekend matchup against Georgia Saturday at 3:30. It's 37 degrees at 12 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
Hey, hey.
This is Helmets and Heels
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
About 2.5 weeks after we thought it would, is when Trent Baalke was let go. I think at this point, have to celebrate that this organization is now heading in a better direction than what we could have imagined to start this week. And yes, I missed it's not Ben Johnson. He's going to the Chicago Bears drama. And then yesterday, the Liam Cohen is definitely the coach. Oh, wait, he's not drama. But I do think that Shad Khan eventually made the right decision. It just was like I said, about 2.5 weeks after maybe we would have predicted. But now this organization and the new general manager that will be selecting players, we can have hope and faith in this organization once again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's heading in a direction, which is better than what it was yesterday during this show. I'm ecstatic that Trent Baalke is gone. I think this is something that I went back and I was looking at some of my tweets and going back to 2022's offseason, the things I was saying about Trent Baalke at that time 2 years ago was saying the same exact thing that I was saying a week ago. And that's awful. It's awful to go back and see that for 2 years I've been saying all of these issues and noticing all of these things and saying you've got to make a change and all of this stuff. And it's 2 years too late. It's 2 weeks too late, however you want to look at it. But he is gone, and I do think that does change a lot of things moving forward. Obviously, that does mean that there are other people that probably wouldn't have come here either, and now that does open the door for those people. We will see those names and what's going on, and Lauren, we talked a lot yesterday about the Robert Saleh, and obviously this is pre-Baalke because it happened after us, and Robert Saleh and Patrick Graham were the two names, but we mentioned names like a Todd Monken and a Joe Brady and a Cliff Kingsbury who will not talk to anybody until Washington is out of the postseason. And so there are still names out there that to me are very appealing, and making this move and getting rid of Trent Baalke does open doors for those people. I also think that one of the biggest criticisms with Trent Baalke is what has happened after this, and that is the free agency and the draft. And now we don't know who, but somebody will be in here making those decisions now. And I feel like that already eases a lot of people because they do feel like it's not this weird draft concept that Trent Baalke has held on to for so long that hasn't worked. And now you do feel like it's this actual clean slate, a little late, but it is a clean slate.
Am I not hearing my microphone?
Your
okay,
microphone
hold
is
on.
not
No
on.
wonder I've been like, okay, so there we go.
There you go. Someone moved the wrong microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I can't hear myself. So there.
we go.
Oh, now.
RJ, this is not your fault. There have been some microphone.
Yeah, there was somebody moved the
switcheroos
wrong
in
microphone
here.
to the middle table.
Let's set the scene. Round of applause. RJ Saunders is back. Let's start with that. RJ, give yourself a round of applause. You were overnight in an airport. I can't wait to hear about your exploits. The reason I haven't heard about them yet is because a round of applause as well, double round of applause. Our friends at Closets by Design are at my house right now. We have a lot going on, and there has been a lot going on in the city of Jacksonville in the last 24 to 36 hours. I think that our friend Hayes Carlyon put it best, that this time Shad Khan finally got it right. Now, the question is, can he continue to make the right moves? Because I just can't help but question, ladies, even if in that lovely press release that was sent out yesterday, it was noted that Ethan Waugh is helping with the process. He's the interim GM for now. I cannot help but go back to what I have been told over the last 2 months by people who this may result in them losing their job. But they have said what this franchise needs is a clean sweep. And I just want to reserve judgment and reserve having the complete and utter celebration party, despite the fact that today is a national day of celebration. I don't want to put the cart before the horse because for all we know, another half measure may be taken. And I'm not saying I know anything. I was thinking about this on my drive in, and I just can't help but get past, does Shad Khan think that this was the solution then? You get rid of Trent Baalke. It doesn't matter who you go and get. It's going to be fine now. And everything else in the building is fine. And it's just Trent because you don't want to cleanse through all 85 people as well.
Well, also, and part of that is, do you trust Shad Khan's hiring? Because the track record isn't really good right now. And then keeping somebody who everybody else in the league has been telling you isn't a very good person for the amount of time that you did. So there are still hesitations, but I do still think that in this time and now, the thing that has lost you two of your top candidates is out of the building.
I think if Shad goes out and gets a new general manager and lets that general manager run things, and that general manager is certainly a big part of picking the new head coach, and they are aligned, then we get everything that we were asking for. And that is to have the two people tied together, not have a brand new head coach and a general manager that we thought was going to get fired and certainly is on the hot seat. And I will say, at least thank you to Trent Baalke for picking Brian Thomas Jr., the only bright spot, obviously, of this past season, and now he'll be a Pro Bowler this year. At least he did make that decision right on his way out. But I understand people who have consternation about Shad Khan still being the one making these decisions. I get that because of the track record. I totally understand. Shad Khan has been here for guys like Gus Bradley and Urban Meyer, right? Doug Marrone, certainly. And so I do understand that. However, I am always an optimistic person, and I have to believe that Shad is going to trust the right people. And whether he hires an executive vice president of football or
he has not trusted the right people so far.
But I think he did with Tom
You may
Coughlin.
be an optimist, but Taylor Dahl and I are realists here.
Well, and I get, but like, you can't be, in my opinion, I was never obsessed with Ben Johnson. I was never obsessed with Liam Cohen. So I'm not over here thinking like, well, the Chicago Bears got the one guy, the guy that got away. The Bucks kept the other one. Like, now everything's going to be a disaster. I think the Jaguars can still get a really good coach, and I think they can still get a general manager that's going to do better than Trent Baalke.
But here's the thing, Lauren, and I talked about this on Duval Rundown this morning. I posted a quick hits as well, brought to you by Arlington Toyota, too. That now is the question. You're going to go out, in my estimation, and hire the head coach first. And then you will try to find the GM. Now, here's the question.
But why? Why do you think
Why do I
that?
believe that?
Yeah.
Because that's what Shad Khan stated in his statement. He'd never said anything about finding the next GM. He said, Ethan Waugh will help me as we look for the next head coach.
I get that, but I don't know that he's necessarily going to put everything in the statement about a new GM.
I fully expect them, given especially Ian Rappaport's report and my own reporting, that they are going to most likely be circling back with Joe Brady and Kellen Moore next week, that this search will continue with the intention of focusing on the head coach. Then they will address GM. The asterisk to that is if they interview someone, whether it's one of those two gentlemen, Cliff Kingsbury, whoever it may be. It wouldn't be Cliff Kingsbury because he's not going to interview until after the Super Bowl if they make it to the Super Bowl. But if they were to say after next week, Joe Brady's our guy, Kellen Moore's our guy, but we cannot hire him until after the Super Bowl. And if that's the case, they have the handshake agreement that has happened before, whether it be Kevin O'Connell, the other Taylor brother, Jonathan Gannon with Arizona. It's not foreign to have that in place. But then they would say to said candidate, give us the list of your general manager candidates. And they would spend the next 2 weeks interviewing GM candidates. If, let's say, Joe Brady's the guy or Kellen Moore's the guy, and the Bills and the Eagles get beat this weekend, and you can hire them next week, they will hire the head coach first. Then they will address the general manager. And they will be required by the Rooney Rule to interview X amount of candidates. And therefore, it's going to take longer. That's the only way that I see the GM coming before the head coach. Unless Shad is to step in and say, Rick Spielman, Marvin Lewis, my EVP, come help me in the next 48 hours, which I do not see happening.
That's where I have no idea what Shad's plan is as far as that's concerned, but I hope that he I feel like he kind of listened to what everyone was saying. A lot of people right now are telling him to hire an EVP, to hire that liaison, to hire a football person to make the hires because he himself has not made good hires. So I'm hoping that he's going to listen to that and hire someone like a Tom Coughlin who is a little bit more current as far as obviously Coughlin had the issues with the NFLPA, but someone who understands what it takes to be a good general manager, what it takes to be a good head coach.
Yeah. I think that he's has to be a bit embarrassed to this point, and hopefully that does make him change the way he has done things the last several years. Because when you, and we were talking about this yesterday, when you have an offensive coordinator for a team reject your situation, reject your organization, and decide to stay an offensive coordinator somewhere and turn down a Trevor Lawrence and turn down a Brian Thomas Jr. and turn down your organization because of a person, and we don't know for sure that the Liam Cohen situation was Baalke.
Right.
That's kind of some assumptions. Yeah.
He decided to stay with the Lions.
But he did, he said that, and he turned down a couple jobs for other people. He also said he would have worked for the Bears, but the Bears didn't fire Eberflus. So he was willing to leave last year just for the right situation. And a lot of people are saying Ben Johnson wasn't going to leave for a job. He was going to leave for the job, so it had to be the right one. And we broke all that down yesterday with maybe Liam Cohen just felt like he did have more work to do and more to learn in the position that he had and wanted to work with, just keep calling plays and do that type of thing in Tampa before making that next leap. We don't know the direct story between Cohen and Baalke, but what I do know is you had the opportunity to make a lot of money as a head coach, coaching what people say is one of the better quarterbacks, a top 15 quarterback in the league, and Trevor Lawrence, and you got turned down, and it very publicly got turned down. And you now had to rethink everything and shift everything. And people are laughing at you again because you waited 17 days to make this decision when everybody else in the world, like not just media and fans, people higher up have been saying like this guy nobody wants to work with him. It doesn't. And I went back and saw a tweet that I posted December 5th because that's when I had these conversations with people in Detroit telling me Ben was not coming here if Baalke was here. If I knew that, Shad knew that. So to me, you are embarrassed. You should be embarrassed. You waited too long. And not saying that now the right coaching decision can't happen, but you made your organization and look silly once again because everybody was like, what the heck are they doing? Rather than if you would have done this 2 weeks ago, it would have been like, he did it. Like he fired Baalke. Finally, this is it. And now it's more so, what the hell are you doing? Like too little, too late sometimes. And now what I do hope is he doesn't rush. Like I don't want this to be a situation where he's like, okay, to Mia's point, Baalke's gone, everything else, so like we don't have to change anything else. Let's just get the coach in here as quick as possible and get things going. I really want them to take time, evaluate, to your point, bring somebody in, bring some person in between that can help them make these decisions, because at this point, I do not trust him to make the decision on his own.
Or at the very least, an advisor.
Yes.
And that's something I do want to once again reiterate my stance on this. I have been told by enough people around the league that while they have respect for Tony Boselli, they also don't want to put the most famous, the only Hall of Famer in franchise history in a compromised situation where all of a sudden he's the EVP, and now what happens if he doesn't do a good enough job? Now you're going to fire not only arguably the greatest coach in your franchise history in Tom Coughlin, now you're going to fire your greatest player, your one Hall of Famer. And even then, independent of that, there also was a sense of, if he's the Chris Spielman role, if he's an advisor role, we'll play ball. If it's EVP, we are not looking for Game of Thrones, and we will take our services elsewhere.
I think the person has to be someone who has hired successful coaches in the past. And so Boselli aside.
You mean a search firm?
I mean, whether it's a search firm or which could have happened before. By the way, I thought today we were going to literally be like partying on this show for the next 2 hours.
That was yesterday afternoon.
Yeah. My initial was party. My next was like, this is honestly a little embarrassing.
All right. Well, we've got more to do. Keep talking all things Jaguars. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
There are 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, and Jags football.
To the 5, into the end zone, touchdown!
Jaguar football lives here. 1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
What's happening, fellas? It's your boy E to the T here, and it's a brand new year, which means a brand new you, especially in the bedroom. So if you're ready to make 2025 the year to level up where it counts, let me make it a little easier for you. Get yourself some Blue Chew. They've got a chewable tablet that has the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxin. That means you're getting top-tier performance, my boy, without leaving the house. Blue Chew comes right to your front door in a discreet package, so your neighbors won't even know what's going on. But you will. No doctor's offices and no pharmacy run. Just licensed medical providers helping you find the right prescription. And guess what? They're made right here in the USA. Oh, and did I mention it's free? Yeah, you heard me. Your first month is free. So what you waiting for? Visit BlueChew.com and get a consultation. And start your year off with confidence to keep things interesting in that bedroom. Get that Blue Chew at BlueChew.com, baby. Let's make this year unforgettable.
Mia here. You want to know what's better than a sale? A sale on top of a sale, right? That's exactly what's going on now at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned during their Everything's on Sale sale. Just how on sale is it? How about zero down and just $288 per month for a pre-owned 2022 Toyota Corolla? Or you choose a pre-owned 2021 Camry, RAV4 Tacoma for zero down and only $388 per month. But that's not all. I mean, this is a sale on top of a sale, folks, where everything is on sale. And that's why my friends at Arlington are offering no payments till July 2025. You heard that right. July 2025, no payments. Plus, Arlington's lot is packed with over 600 vehicles, and you get 60 days to love your purchase or exchange it. It's official. It's a sale on top of a sale during the Everything's on Sale sale at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. That's some kind of sale. Shop in person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, or online at arlingtontoyota.com.
David Lane here, and once again, I'm happy to share news of my success with back and knee surgeries at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist. Whatever it is that's bothering you, take it from me. Simply set an appointment today at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist and let them help you get back to normal life. I'm certainly glad I did.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
Seminole Hard Rock Tampa is excited to bring you live craps, roulette, and sports betting. All under one roof, hotter than the Florida sun. Feel the luck of the dice. Watch the roulette wheel spin and scream for your touchdown as the big screen comes alive. Dine like a rock star. Sip cocktails that shimmer. Then dive into the heart of Las Vegas right here in Tampa Bay. Live craps, roulette, sports betting is here. Get in on the action now. Only at Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Tampa. Located off of I-4 near I-75. Gambling problem? Call 1-888-10-MINUTE.
To catch more fish, you gotta think like a fish. Captain Kevin and the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show. Reeled in by the Pest Pros at Royal Pest Services. And Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Thursday nights at 6
on 1010XL AM.
Transform your bathroom with stunning shower glass from Sky Glass Solutions in Jacksonville Beach. For a free quote, call 904-608-5151 or visit skyglasssolutions.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
If you're ready to transform your yard with a fence that stands out, elevate your curb appeal with Superior Fence and Rail. Superior takes pride in offering first-class service, friendly installers, and unmatched fence products. Mention this ad and get $250 off your next project. It's time to get off the fence and call today.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700, offices Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
Attention men and women. If you would like to get your hair back, then you need to listen to some of our clients. John in Orange Park.
IHRS showed me what was causing my hair loss and helped stop it.
Call IHRS now at 904-777-IHRS. Find out how to grow your hair back with a free hair and scalp examination. Mike from Bay Meadows.
I finally found the most experienced company who could restore my hair. Now I have hair where I had none before.
Results guaranteed. Diane from Ponte Vedra.
Now I have what lotions couldn't give me. Thick, beautiful hair.
Find out why you're losing your hair and how to grow your hair back. Call 904-777-IHRS for a limited time free hair and scalp examination.
Now my hair will grow for the rest of my life. Thanks, IHRS.
Thank you, IHRS.
Thanks, IHRS, for giving me my hair back.
Hurry and receive a free hair and scalp examination and get 2 weeks of laser treatments for free. Call IHRS at 904-777-IHRS. That's 904-777-4477. Hair4me.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
I've had this song stuck in my head ever since Trent Baalke was relieved of his duties yesterday. Who can it be now? I guess you could ask that for both the next Jaguars head coach as well as the next Jaguars general manager. I know a lot of people, Mia, you referenced Ethan Wall. A lot of people are very concerned that Shad's just going to promote Ethan from within. I think Ethan seems like a great guy, but I have no idea if that's the direction Shad Khan's going to go. Hopefully he makes, obviously, like we were just saying, the right decision moving forward, because this organization is really, I'm not going to say breaking point, but it's at a very, I think, crucial time, and that is 2 years ago it was this team was in the postseason, and everyone felt amazing, and ever since then it's been a complete backwards slide. Even though the record, yes, was 9-8 in the second year, there was a collapse towards the end of the season, and then this year, obviously, only the 4 wins. So your organization has been going backwards. So who can it be now? Who's the next Jaguars head coach?
Head coach, I mean, I think we got another week and a half to 2 weeks of this, if not 3.
Sure. But who do you think right now if you were to make a bet?
As I noted on my quick hits this morning and on the Duval Rundown podcast, it's once again been conveyed to me that young offensive mind is the focus. Now, I know Pete Prisco reported, and I've heard it from enough of my sources up in New York and San Francisco for that matter, that Robert Saleh is the betting favorite. There's immense respect between the Khans and Robert Saleh, and I believe that. But what I also believe is what I've been told since early this fall, which is young offensive mind. If the Jaguars were to make a change, that was what was being advised to Shad Khan. And so, given that Ben Johnson is now off the board and you potentially could have upset or at the very least blown your chance with Liam Cohen, that leaves you 2 names, maybe 3. It leaves you Joe Brady with the Buffalo Bills. It leaves you Kellen Moore with the Philadelphia Eagles, which if reports are true that the Cowboys are going to go out and hire Brian Schottenheimer, I guess that takes Jerry Jones' other favorite son in Kellen off the board, and perhaps he could be a match here in Jacksonville. I do have on good intel that he does have an interest in working with Trevor Lawrence. He has a plan to work with these specific playmakers on offense, which is obviously encouraging. The third name that I would introduce into the conversation would be Cliff Kingsbury. If he is to opt into the search process whenever the Washington Commanders season comes to a close, even then, that might be a bit of a Hail Mary, because the hope would be you've identified these candidates and you're going to go through the process with them. I have not brought up Todd Monken's name, and I know that's what you're about to ask, Lauren. I have not brought up Todd Monken's name because at least one source did tell me, in their estimation, if what Shad Khan was told, go find young offensive mind, if that is true, and that is the North Star, Todd Monken is older than Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
Do I think he's more innovative? Absolutely. But he's older than Doug Peterson. That's just what one person told me yesterday in the building. I don't necessarily agree with it. I would consider Todd Monken. However, again, I go back to what I was told in October, because you want to know what else I was told in October? 5 games into his tenure as the OC of the Bucs, that Liam Cohen was a legitimate candidate to be a head coach here in Jacksonville. And wouldn't you look at that? Up until he pulled out of the race, he was the front runner. So, given that I was told that in October, I'm going to believe what the people who told me that say, which is Shad Khan is looking for a young offensive mind who will be the primary play caller.
Yeah, I personally would consider Todd Monken. Todd Monken's probably my favorite on the list. But yeah, he'll be 59. So if that young word is something that you want to emphasize, then that does.
If you're 158, 59 is young.
Some people listening to this are probably like, hey,
correct,
be careful.
Exactly.
But when you hear that word, you are thinking of late 30s, early 40s. That's what most people are talking about when they say that young offensive mind, when you talk about the guys in the NFL right now that hold that title. And going back to the Robert Saleh thing, the one thing that makes me, I know a lot of people are like, watch it still happen and da-da-da. And I don't know the plan. But what I had heard previously was that Robert Saleh was the one person that would be okay with working with Trent Baalke. So in my thought process, you wouldn't have fired Trent Baalke if Robert Saleh was the guy that you really wanted here in Jacksonville, because he would have came either way.
I think the young offensive minds, and certainly Trevor Lawrence mentioned it, is something that has been the goal, has been the plan. And that's why so many people thought Ben Johnson here. And when everyone reported that their sources were saying that he wanted to come here, I think that was probably accurate. But at the end of the day, obviously, he decided to go elsewhere. And I do wonder if he looked at both quarterbacks and said he wanted to go with a younger quarterback in Caleb Williams over Trevor Lawrence. But that's also why Liam Cohen, because young offensive mind certainly fits that category. And again, for me, I don't think this entire process has now been ruined because Baalke's been involved to this point and you didn't get those two candidates. I still do think there's a lot of other guys, and I love Todd Monken, but like you said, he's closer to 60 than he is 30 or even 40. But I still think that a guy like Joe Brady is a great offensive mind. Look at what he did at LSU in 2019. And obviously, when promoted to be the offensive coordinator of the Bills last season, look at what the Bills offense has been able to do. Everybody said that in order to get the best out of Josh Allen, they needed to change some things of how they were doing things offensively with the Bills. And Joe Brady is inserted, and they have run the ball more and not leaned so much on Josh Allen, which has certainly led to fewer turnovers. So I still like that idea. If it's Joe Brady, I think we get to move forward with a much more up-to-date offense than what was here the last 3 years.
And look, I know that I have been someone who's put cold water on Joe Brady as a candidate just because I had someone tell me that perhaps of those young offensive minds, he's the greenest in terms of having a clear plan of what his staff would look like, what his ideal front office situation would look like, what his strength and conditioning program would look like. And that's one or two people's opinion, because I did enjoy listening to Pete Prisco this morning on Jaguars Today, and Pete spent much more time with Joe Brady, and hopefully we'll get one of our friends in Buffalo on either tomorrow or next week to give us even more of an idea about Joe Brady and his candidacy. What I do want to compare, especially after what Pete said, and Pete has spent time with Brady, what I do want to compare is Cliff Kingsbury, the soundbite we played yesterday, where he said he will be much more prepared if he's given a second bite of the apple as a head coach because of what he's seen from Dan Quinn, because of what he has seen Dan Quinn improve upon from what he did in Atlanta, where he established a standard from the moment he walked in the building. This is allowed, this is not, and if you're out of line, you're in trouble. This is allowed, this is our system of accountability, these are our pillars. Cliff said when he got to Arizona, he had none of that. Didn't matter that he was a college head coach before that. And I'm curious for Joe Brady, now in his second stint as an offensive coordinator in the NFL, are there things that maybe he didn't know when he became Matt Rule's OC in Carolina that he has applied now that have also set him up to be an NFL head coach?
Yeah, I think people's hesitation with Joe Brady, and I'll preface this by saying I like Joe Brady, and he has been the fourth name on my list throughout this last 2 months of guys that I do like, because I have had such a focus on those younger offensive-minded guys, and I'm looking at the teams that I feel like I like the way their offenses are ran, and I do like how they implemented the run game this season when they've needed to for a while, and that has avoided a lot of other things. I think a lot of people's concerns with Joe Brady, number one, the amount of time when you're actually calling play, the amount of times he's actually called plays in the NFL. That was a similar thing to Liam Cohen. People were concerned about that also. But also, he had a Sam Darnold and a Baker Mayfield in his quarterback room when he was in Carolina, and that offense was dead. And then both of those guys go on to offensive coordinators and coaches who make them into two of the better quarterbacks this season. So that is some people's hesitation. So sometimes it's just the situation. Sometimes you see a guy who, I mean, look at even Russell Wilson and what he was in Denver compared to going to Pittsburgh this last year. People thought it was dead and gone when he was in Denver, and then he had some incredible season this year, but it looked a ton better than what they had seen with the Broncos. And so sometimes it is just situational. Sometimes those players get along and mesh with a coach a certain way, or certain coaches coach different ways, and you have to coach different players different ways, and sometimes that doesn't mesh. So there's a lot of other factors, but the hesitation for a lot of people are like, you had two top quarterbacks in your quarterback room, and what did you get out of them? And then you get to Josh Allen, and Josh Allen does most of the work.
Right. That's always the knock I feel like against some offensive coordinators is like, well, but they got to work with Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow,
Aaron Rodgers, like
exactly.
when Mike McCarthy's the conversation.
Right.
Now.
With a voice that I think this locker room needs. And that's the age part is so interesting because Doug Peterson also didn't have the harsh voice that this team needs, but he's in his 50s.
Yeah.
So how is it,
right. No,
when you looked at?
I want to be clear. Like, I agree with you. I would bring Todd Monken back for a second-round interview, but they haven't, and the Ravens have been eliminated from the postseason. Now, was part of that because Todd Monken's not afraid to speak his mind, and perhaps he would raise his voice to a certain now-departed general manager.
Right.
That certainly could be in play, and if it is, I am welcome to that opportunity. But I am just here to tell you, I asked someone in the building yesterday, I said, why haven't they called Monken yet? And the response was, he's older than Doug. That's not what they want.
Well, I do think that limits you a little bit as far as if you're going to 100% do young offensive mind and two of your top guys are now gone, you're whittling down the options.
Narrowing down the search.
I agree. I'm just, again, we're here to report facts, not just, we give our opinions, but I do try, and I know the Heeligans, thank you to everybody who tuned in yesterday. I know Lauren was obviously on vacation, but Taylor and I got some great feedback yesterday, and we're glad that we can provide you what we are hearing in addition to what we believe should be the decision.
By the way, it is weird to see, like, Joe Brady is 35. It's like the guy's only a year older than me. That's right. And he's younger than you. It's just, like, so weird to see that. But, I mean, that's when you talk about young, I'm guessing that's what they're looking at then. Is it a 45 too old? Because that's Cliff Kingsbury is 45. What's our age? Range here?
How do we define
right,
young?
and I said that on Duval Rundown this morning. Like, I know he's 10 years older, but I do think Cliff would qualify.
Yeah.
He would still be in the younger category.
I
don't know what the threshold is. I'm not going to speak on that.
By the way, when the press conference did happen with Shad and Trent, and we all talked about obviously how awkward it was, one of the words that Shad used when asked specifically about Trent being here, and it might have been your question, but he used the word sinister. Shad did.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I want to make sure it's not something more sinister that's going on here. The sinister thing was Trent.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we had the last 2 weeks.
We have had to tell you.
Right. We have had people come on our station, including a Michael Silver, right? And he was flabbergasted as to why Trent keeps surviving this. And so at the end of the day, like I said, I'm celebrating because I think this organization can now move forward in a much better direction. And hopefully there's a lot more Brian Thomas Jr.'s to be picked moving forward.
No, and I'm about to tweet it once this gift from my laptop. I'm about to tweet it out. It's a national day of celebration. I don't want to just pour cold water. Like, it's just also the reality. And I know, Lauren, you were on vacation, so this is your first time getting to sound off on it. And it broke after our show. I've also done a full podcast at this point, and I've done a quick hit. So maybe that's why I'm now, like, entering the reality phase, like the 5 stages of acceptance of Trent Baalke's departure. Like, someone on Twitter just asked me, they're like, if you have all these sources, why didn't you know? And I could tell you this because I had someone who said, I had an inkling and I was going to tell you. Even if that person had told me that Tuesday night, I wouldn't have believed them until I had Shad's PR person's email in my inbox. Mm-hmm. Because at this point in time, I just can't see it until I believe it. I can't believe it until I see it. Now I finally see it and I still can't believe it.
Well, I think too, all of Duval, poor fans out there, they were told Ben Johnson's going to be the coach. Then they were told Liam Cohen's going to be the coach. And before that, they were told it's going to be both Doug and Trent out. And none of these things happened.
Yeah.
And so I think everybody's more in that doubting Thomas phase. All right, we've got more to do. More Jaguars talk. You're listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
The home of the
Make yourselves at home sweet home, boys.
1010XL.
Hello!
It's a big house.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm dedicated to helping businesses manage and move their company forward. Jimerson Burr attorneys comfortable as community leaders, private transaction counselors, or courtroom advocates. If you have a legal issue of any kind affecting your business, contact the firm at 389-0050 or jimersonfirm.com.
Kick off the new year with a new look for your home. It's the Renewal by Andersen New Year's sales event. For a limited time, save 20% on their energy-efficient windows and patio doors, designed to keep your home comfortable all year. Plus, zero down, no payments, and 0% interest for 12 months. Offer expires January 31st. Renewal by Andersen, proud partner of the Florida Gators. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation.
License number CGC 1527613.
Hacker here, and let me tell you, I've crushed some goals in my life, but this one is big. Under 200 pounds, thanks to Awaken 180 weight loss. My first goal was to lose 100 pounds. Honestly, that was a cakewalk. So I set my sights on breaking the 200-pound mark. And guess what? I just hit it. Now, I get it. Most of you don't have 120 pounds to lose. MC or but here's the deal. No matter how much weight you need to lose, Awaken 180 works, and we're proof. We can't hide these results, and we don't want to. Awaken 180 is proven. It's easy, and the weight pours off fast without a life of medications. You follow the plan, lose the weight, and it's gone for good. So stop waiting for the perfect time. Visit awaken180weightloss.com and see what you can accomplish.
Jacksonville, Orange Park, and St. Augustine. Cash in this month with thrilling promotions and tournaments, including daily high hands and table games clockwork cash out, giving away $300 cash every 15 minutes and selected weekends at all 3 Best Bet locations. Catch all the excitement in 2025. See all the details and learn the games at bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
The Jacksonville Icemen are back home Saturday night to battle the Orlando Bears in a big South Division clash in downtown Jacks.
Calling all Jedi and Imperial forces.
Saturday is Star Wars night, when the Icemen wear special Star Wars-themed jerseys to be auctioned off live following the game. 7 o'clock at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Tickets at Ticketmaster, JacksIcemen.com, or call 904-602-PUCK. Iceman hockey is #Frozen Frenzy.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On January 23rd, 2015, Golden State Warriors guard Klay Thompson scores the most NBA points in a quarter with 37, as well as the most three-pointers in a quarter with 9.
Home is where your story begins. And at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to make it the healthiest, most comfortable place it could be. Whether it's fresh, clean air, dependable plumbing, or reliable power, we take care of it all. From routine maintenance to state-of-the-art solutions, Donovan keeps your home running smoothly. Because at Donovan, we believe your home needs comfort. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing at 904-270-COOL or visit us online. Let's make your home healthier, safer, and better together.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval sub. The Duval.
Get back in the game. Joe C. for Rebound Rehabilitation, and they helped me recover from an ankle injury that had me down.
Exclusive injury law firm of the Jaguars. By
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor on 1010XL.
Wow, we're not even the worst, like people from Panthers organization saying we're not even the most laughable expansion team anymore. Like all of these tweets, and that's what so those started being like, okay, now people are just seeing this as a big joke. We're celebrating here because someone's gone, but everybody else is like, they did this ass backwards.
See, the Raiders were lauded for firing Tom Telesco a couple days after they let go of their head coach. But that hasn't led to them getting the top candidate that they wanted in Ben Johnson.
They also don't have Trevor Lawrence.
They don't have, whether it's the new head coach or whether it is a new general manager or whether it is an EVP, that is going to make the right decisions moving forward.
I also think
to draft the right players.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to.
That's huge.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think that, and I would like to think, because I value and appreciate and believe he's intelligent. As much as Ben Johnson was the apple of the Raiders' eye, I can't help but feel like Tom Brady and those minority owners who are some of the most brilliant people in the continental United States, with all due respect to Mark Davis, who's probably in a corner eating some P.F. Chang's, getting his haircut right now. I cannot believe that minority ownership group went in, pushed all their chips to the middle of the table, and didn't have a contingency plan. And I believe the contingency plan was, okay, if we don't get Ben and his choice of GM.
Sense of panic. Yes, they had the number one name on their list, but I do think who he knows, he's familiar, he has his people, he has his connections. So to them, they were like, this is who we want, but if this doesn't have A, B, and C, needs to happen pretty quickly. And you saw that pretty quickly start to happen. My thing is, like, when the season ended this year, I told myself I was not going to fall for the antics again. And this goes for both the Bears and Jags, because both teams were hyped up. Both teams completely failed me and let me down. And I'm not doing it again. I'm not going to let you make mistake after mistake after mistake, losing season after losing season, and then you do one thing that I want to applaud you for, and I completely change my mind on how I feel about everything. I'm not doing that this time. Like, Shad has a lot to prove to me, to prove that he can turn things around and hire the right person and get wins on the football field. And I'm not going to just let one decision all of a sudden be like, we're back, because it's not how it works.
I understand the negativity, and I understand not trust. Basically, you're in a relationship and the guy cheated on you. Now you don't trust him moving forward. That's kind of what it boils down to. And so I understand all of that.
Give me wins and I'll start trusting you.
Right. But the difference is you can break up with the guy that cheated on you. You can't break up with Shad. That's the problem here. And Shad is going to be the owner for the foreseeable future, probably until he passes away and turns the keys over to his kids. And so at this point, we have to assume that he has learned from his issues in the past, the mistakes that he's made, because he is a brilliant business person. So I have to think that he will eventually figure it out here. Or if he doesn't, if he's not able to, that he's going to bring someone in who can figure it out. I know people joke about Prisco being the general manager. Prisco has a ton of league sources, and I do think he's a good draft evaluator. At least he would have the voice of reason to be able to navigate some of these things. But he also hasn't hired successful football coaches in the past. So I just hope that Shad's going to lean on someone who understands what it takes in order to get the right person here. Because Shad, we know, was in love with Urban Meyer, and we know how that went. And thought that he got it right with Doug Peterson. And I think we all know 2022 was good, but they also got lucky down the stretch to even make the playoffs at that point in time. If they don't make the playoffs in 2022, I wonder how different of a conversation we're having now.
A quick programming note, Lauren. I just want to let everybody know we are working to fix the app issues right now. I've seen a couple of you guys reaching out to us. I know Facebook and Twitter are also having a hard time broadcasting right now. You can always get in your car, 92.5 FM, 1010 AM. YouTube is working, so if you're looking for us, I see a bunch of you on the text line. I'm working on it right now with Richie. Stand by. Bear with us.
Maybe it has to do with all that snow that Fernandina and Yuli had yesterday. So we know Aaron Glenn to the Jets. We know Ben Johnson to the Bears. We know Mike Vrabel to the Patriots. There are reports that Brian Schottenheimer is going to the Cowboys. I don't think that that's been confirmed by either Schefter or Rappaport. But so that does leave the Raiders obviously still in the Saints in addition to the Jaguars and maybe the Cowboys. Do you have faith that a team like the Cowboys, if it's not Schottenheimer, do you have faith that Jerry Jones will get it right?
No. I do not.
I feel confident.
I think that he's
going
about
to hire
downgrade.
a friend. He's going to hire a friend. I feel confident in that.
In my head, with Schottenheimer, obviously, when it was Kellen Moore, I'm personally not the biggest Kellen Moore fan. And so either one of those would be a downgrade from what they had, in my opinion. And that's what we point at that as an organization that everyone laughs at too, because it's been this thing where, yes, they had all of these Super Bowls in the 90s and they hang on to that and we talk about flags fly forever, but at some point you got to win again. At some point you got to win a playoff game, especially when you have somebody who, like a Dak Prescott, you haven't had a top 5 quarterback, but you have had a top 15 quarterback for a long time. And honestly, Mike McCarthy gave Dak Prescott some of his best seasons, and at his time in Dallas, he's suffered some injuries, which obviously affects things. We know that here. But you've been given so many weapons, so many opportunities to be able to even win a playoff game there, and you haven't been able to. And that's the Dallas Cowboys, who are spending money and have this nice stadium and have had their quarterback, their franchise quarterback, and all of these things, and you still can't win. And then now it looks like you fired a coach and are going to bring in a worse coach.
I think it'll be fascinating to see what they do. And as far as the Cowboys have the owner who meddles. And so it's a little bit the opposite here, obviously. But they do have some really good pieces like a Micah Parsons, obviously. Yeah. And like you mentioned, Dak, the quarterback's in place. The other two, the Raiders and the Saints, they don't have a quarterback. Yeah. And I mean, I guess the Saints have a quarterback in Derek Carr, but not a quarterback that people want to work with. And so you have to wonder if those are going to be a little bit more short term. You're here and, or you're basically like a sacrificial lamb maybe for the Saints and the Raiders for a season or two. And then they're going to find another coach when they have a plan of quarterback in place.
Yeah, Lauren, we talked about it when it comes to the Raiders, why the Pete Carroll hire makes sense for them, because obviously we've talked about Pete Carroll's age, 73, I think he is. And when you have somebody, like, you can't expect Pete Carroll to come in here and want to coach for 10 years. Like, that just doesn't seem realistic. Not saying he won't, because Pete Carroll doesn't act or seem 73 years old. But to me, it's a perfect kind of Band-Aid to the situation, to where you bring someone in who does have this history of fixing and mending relationships and situations within the locker room and things like that. You get Pete Carroll in just to kind of, here, give me a few years, give me 3 years to just get this to where it's functional again. And maybe during that time they get a quarterback. And also he's been really good. He's been a large part of a lot of quarterbacks being developed too. And so maybe you end up drafting a quarterback this year, next year, or the year after, and it is somebody that he does start to mold. And then they also are like, okay, here it is. We'll give you 3 years, but also start having somebody in mind that you want to bring in here and be the coach of the future. And it to me makes sense in a light of, it doesn't look like right now the Raiders are going to win next year. We say that, but we said that about Washington last year. So who knows? Crazier things happen. Then maybe they do get lucky and get a Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold can win them some football games next year, 8 or 9, and they already start that mending process. But you do need a person there who has experience and can kind of just fix things quickly, but not saying it's a long-term fix.
Right, and it's picking up the baton where Pete left it. Mm-hmm. And we said yesterday, we're not in the business of handpicked successors, because obviously it royally burnt one Robert Kraft that he had it written into Gerard Mayo's contract that he would be the successor to Bill Belichick one day. But at the same time, much like we anticipated, if Ben Johnson went to the Las Vegas Raiders, he would have that 10-year contract. He would have a long leash, as would his GM. I expect John Spytek and whoever the head coach is to have a considerable leash out there in the desert. And so if John Spytek opts to not draft a quarterback in this first draft as the general manager, it's not going to be the end of the world in my estimation. They are going to give him time to build the system around where the quarterback would be inserted. And if they win in the process, great. And if they don't, well, we're building for that moment.
What's fascinating is a team's success is so incredibly tied to the general manager. The coach, too, certainly, in hiring good offensive and defensive coordinators, especially depending on who calls the plays. But the Jimmies and Joes, that's what this league is all about. Yeah. And so that, I think, is why, for me, it is such a joyous time, because I believe the next person will be better. I don't know who it's going to be, but I believe they'll be better at picking players than Trent Baalke. The entire league knew it. I like Trayvon Walker, and I loved his tweet about respect.
Yeah.
But everyone in the league knew that Aiden Hutchinson was the pick there. Yeah. And I think Trayvon could have gone second overall, and that would have been a good pick for the next team. But Aiden Hutchinson was the pick, and Trent Baalke put his head in the sand and didn't want to go that route because he's in love with measurables, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of the production in college. And so I have faith that the next person is going to be able to make those types of
obvious
decisions.
Ones, at least.
The obvious, correct choices.
And look, here's the thing. I'll defend Trent in saying this. Like, we've also sat here and talked about having standards and having, hey, these are the rules, these are our principles, and you need to follow them. There needs to be some wiggle room, but you also need to hold people accountable. And, of course, the infamous line from Bill Parcells of, once you make one exception, you have a room full of exceptions, and I respect that. But the malleability of the modern NFL player is something that I think he refused to adapt to.
Yeah.
The idea of, and I didn't know, Pete said this on Jags Today. I guess Aiden Hutchinson went on the record somewhere and said that the Jags told him his arms were 1 inch too short. I don't know if that's true or not, but Pete said it, so I don't know if that's just in jest or if that's real. But if it is real, it's tough because I respect the idea of this is our process and this is what we stick to, and I appreciate
if the process works,
right.
Well, I had also read that Baalke didn't want to pick players from Michigan.
Yes, and that's
because of the issues with Harbaugh in the
right,
past.
and so that's the other side of
He's
it.
a child,
right, and so that's the other side of it. And look, and that's where I respect the old school mentality, but we don't live in the old school. There's a reason it's called the old school. And I'm not saying that you should just be drafting players solely on their production in college, because I think you do have to look at how much tread is there on the tires, what's the ceiling, what's the projection, is someone still growing? I agree with that. But I also think that it speaks to the coaching situation and why we have a change here in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
It's because Doug Peterson said, we did this in 2017 and it worked great. 2017 was 8 years ago, Doug, and if the league changes 10% every year, well, now you're missing the bell curve by about 80%. And and I said it on the air. Doug Peterson was fired for insubordination. He was asked to change, and he did not. It's quite simple. And he wouldn't break, and he wouldn't adapt to certain things. And in a similar vein, you could say the same thing about Trent Baalke.
And that's also why Shad needs an advisor, is because Doug Peterson wasn't calling plays in Philadelphia either. Press Taylor was. So his saying before the season, well, I know who I want to call plays. Doug Peterson wasn't the answer at play caller. He should have fired Press. He should have hired a new offensive coordinator, and maybe he'd still have his job. I want to talk about the NFL MVP when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Bringing the weekend to the weekday.
Work on three, 1, 2, 3,
1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Mia here for Dream Finders Homes. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dream Finders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now is your chance to lock down the rate and get in the game. You heard me right, a 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and when you head into a brand new year with a boat show coming up, you've got a lineup of Honda and Coach pontoon boats that you want people to know about.
We do. We've got them in stock. It might still be a little chilly, but it's never too soon to start thinking about your next boat. We are going to be at the boat show January 24 to 26. You can come see us there. If you can't make it to our showroom, come see us at the boat show.
All sorts of ideas and opportunities to enjoy fun on the water with Cycles of Jacksonville. You can log on and check them out, or head to the showroom and be at the boat show.
Jacksonville. When AEW returns home, it is the biggest party in all of professional wrestling.
Daily's Place, the home of AEW.
And on Saturday, January 25th, Collision returns live. It's a new year and a whole new era in AEW. And there's no better time to experience the excitement than right now. AEW Collision Homecoming, live from Daily's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. Tickets on sale now, starting at $20 at AEWTIX.com.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Want to grow your hair back?
IHRS, right here in Jacksonville, is the only hair transplant clinic in the country that offers multi-unit hair grafting, FUE NeoGraft hair transplants, and the 45-minute effective PRP treatments.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
Thank you, IHRS.
IHRS showed me what was causing my hair loss and helped stop it.
Schedule a free evaluation and find out how to grow your hair back and keep the hair you have. Call 904-777-IHRS. Take the first step to restoring your hair today. Visit hairforme.com.
Now my hair will grow for the rest of my life. Thanks, IHRS.
IHRS has been restoring hair for men and women for over 30 years.
Call now for a free in-person or virtual evaluation. 904-777-IHRS. That's 904-777-4477. Or visit hair4me.com.
Hey, Aiken here for Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code JAX, J-A-X, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code JAX to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, man. Run your game.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Cannonball!
Honey, someone's in our pool.
Oh, refreshing.
John, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Dave. Seeing as how me and the guys at Clearwater Irrigation reinstalled your sprinklers after the pool contractor ripped it out, I thought you wouldn't mind if I took a quick dip.
But in a Jaguar print Speedo?
Yeah, Dave. My bad.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
Start your new year off healthy and get screened at Ackerman Cancer Center with on-site imaging, including whole-body MRI, PET and CT scans, and mammography. Early detection is key. Visit AckermanCancerCenter.com.
David Garrard here. Playing in the NFL can put a lot of wear and tear on your body, especially your knees. Southeast Orthopedic Specialist has kept me mobile and ready to tackle every day.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
David Garrard here. I've had the PRP treatment from Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and my knees are really doing well. Platelet-rich plasma treatment may be the answer for whatever is hurting you.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Yo, E.T. here, and don't let Valentine's Day sneak up on you. Plan the perfect romantic getaway in Clay County. Stay at one of Clay's beautiful Airbnbs or in luxury at Club Continental, a boutique riverfront retreat, and treat your special someone to an unforgettable dinner at the Hilltop Restaurant. Trust me on this one. Clay County is the perfect spot for romance. Start planning today at exploreclay.com and tag those romantic moments with #ExploreClay.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update. Brought to you by Blue Chew. Fighting to keep the winning streak alive as they hit the road, the JU Dolphins travel up to West Georgia to take on the Wolves. The Dolphins defense has made the difference in their 5-game win streak as they rank second in opponent turnovers and block shots in the conference, and first in the rebounding margin. Dolphins head coach Jordan Mincy on what he preaches to his team that has led to their success.
Come here or challenge our guys about their approach. Just about, hey, winning the stretch, winning the small things, winning the night. That's one of the major things that we keep preaching to our guys is the normal person here is, what do they mean about winning the night? Are you taking care of your body? Are you getting a rest? Taking your alarm clock so you can get up and get your shot and get the extra workout that you need. And so we're just all about winning right now. That's our mentality. It's not a daily thing. It's every minute, every second thing.
The Dolphins and the Wolves tip off tonight at 7 o'clock. You can listen to the game live on 1010 a.m. It's 40 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
I got some clarification on the comment from Aiden Hutchinson as far as
good.
the
Thank you.
arm length. Absolutely. Dempsey said that Aiden Hutchinson said it on the Amon Ross St. Brown
There we go.
podcast. So it is accurate.
He did say it on the record.
And Dempsey pointed that out.
Thank
when
you,
we had
Prisco
Prisco on.
Good job,
So,
Trent.
yeah,
Thank you,
1
Mike.
inch.
Thank you, Mike, for confirming it and giving me even more of a chuckle on this National Day of Celebration. I know I've been a bit of a cold water on the situation through the first hour. I'm not trying to be, especially because some of our colleagues certainly tend to go in that direction on the 1010XL airwaves. So I'm just wanting to temper my excitement with a dose of reality, or at the very least, what I have been told up to this point.
And I guess I'll reserve my pessimism or reality until the hires are made. And so I understand that, yes, it wasn't the ideal process. The last 2.5 weeks, Trent Baalke's remained in place as the general manager, helping lead a search and trying to find a head coach that was willing to work with him. And
he's like, hey, will you work with me? No.
Right.
Oh,
nobody
okay.
wants to do that. So therefore, Shad read the writing on the wall. Yes, it was too late. However, I'm hopeful, I guess I'm not confident, but I'm hopeful that the next person selecting players in the draft is going to do a better job than Trent Baalke did. And that the next head coach is going to do a better job, especially offensively. Well, I guess, and defensively. They both struggled this year. That both those aspects, special teams, great. Heath Farwell, he should stay on as special teams coordinator no matter who the new head coach is. But the offense will be better, more progressive. And the defense will, I don't know, actually defend.
Something. That's why I was like, the bar's pretty low. So
especially, for the offensive play calling and for the defense as well. All right, so the NFL MVP.
Real quick, Lauren, just because I see a couple comments and I want to clarify this. I see, we live stream not only on YouTube, by the way, folks. We're also on X and Facebook. And I see a couple of the Facebook comments saying, why are we talking about a coach still? We better find the GM who likes your quarterback. Thank you, Tim, for that comment, first and foremost. Secondly, as I noted earlier in the show and on my Quick Hits report this morning, Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports has verified that the Jags are going to search for their next head coach and then begin the search for a GM per sources. A unique way to go about things that appears to be the path forward for Jacksonville. So that is why we are still focused on a head coach here, because from our vantage point, from what Jonathan Jones has been told, that is the way the Jaguars are going about it. Now let's talk about the NFL MVP.
Yeah, so the 5 candidates, Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson. The votes were in, obviously, before the divisional round of the playoffs, so those games are not going to decide anything. Who do you think wins at this point in time? We all gave our reasons as to why we thought, Taylor, you thought Joe Burrow. Certainly, Mia, you thought Lamar Jackson. I thought Josh Allen. Saquon Barkley and Jared Goff, I think certainly to the point that the votes were cast, they had great resumes. Jared Goff has fallen off a little bit. Saquon Barkley added to his resume. But who do you think wins? Who holds this year's NFL MVP?
Yeah, I still think it should be Joe Burrow, but I think, I don't know. I go back and forth a lot with Josh Allen and Lamar still, especially because it is this last weekend. But I think Josh Allen will end up winning it.
I think Lamar's going to end up winning it, and it'll be hilarious if Josh Allen actually then goes on to win the Super Bowl.
It will be obviously a huge matchup on Sunday standing between the Bills and the Super Bowl going up against the Chiefs.
I mean, I guess holding the MVP, the Super Bowl MVP is a little...
It's a little bit better than... Look, and an MVP is important, I'm sure, in terms of, how many skins you want on the wall, but at the same time, you'd rather have that Lombardi each and every day and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. I think Saquon is interesting. Had he been able to play... Well, I guess he was able, but they decided to hold him out.
Yeah.
And of that final Week 18 game, had he played, let's say he did get the rushing record, does he get more votes at that point in time? Even though we know it's traditionally a quarterback that wins the award, but because of everything that he did for the Eagles this season, I wonder if he would have at least had more of a chance to win.
Yeah, I think that all of these have been deserving this year, and there's a reason all of their names are listed in this, because every single one you could make an argument. And when we did have our segment where we each went through ours, we had plenty of people texting and saying, no, it should be Saquon Barkley, or I don't think anybody put in Jared Goff's, but Jared Goff he's a
finalist.
Yeah, he's had the season Jared Goff has had with Detroit, and I mean, obviously career year for him and leading the most explosive, efficient offense in the NFL. When you look at all the EPA per play and all of that stuff, Detroit was top 3 in every single category across the board, and a lot of that was Jared Goff. So I do think that all of these names are deserving in what they've done. That's why I wish that they put more emphasis on this is the regular season. Don't think about it after week 18. and we'll separate this completely from the playoffs. Don't put any of that into your mind at all and start having these votes right after, and then maybe having that postseason at the end of the season, something with that, because I do think it would change a little bit. And or even before, like if you the last couple weeks of the season, start saying, okay, get your votes in now so we can have this, because I do think seeing something that what Joe Burrow did, winning those last 5 games of the season and seeing all of those numbers, he was the most valuable player on his team this season. The Bengals would have won 1 game this year if it wasn't for Joe Burrow. I do think some of these other teams without these guys would have still managed a decent amount of wins. But I mean, Josh Allen and Lamar both deserve it, hands down. And I think that when we watched it this last weekend, you see Jared Goff throw the multiple picks. And so if you were including that, if they changed it and it wasn't regular season and it was playoffs, that drastically changes some things.
Yeah, if it was playoffs, I think Josh Allen wins at this point because, of course, the Bills beat the Ravens, but also he played really well in that game. And I mean,
Saquon might have made a case, though.
He certainly could have. And I do think Joe Burrow is really important to the Bengals. I also think both Lamar and Josh Allen are so incredibly important to their teams too, right? Like, I don't know that the Bills are where they are taking on the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game without Josh Allen.
Yeah.
But what if they had Joe Burrow? What would it look like there? What if Josh Allen was on the Bengals? How does that look? Like, we can never know that.
Yeah. Those are guesses because we don't know. And that's what Josh Allen and Joe Burrow are. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar, and Patrick Mahomes are the 4 quarterbacks that you talk about at the top of the league. That's just that's what it is right now. I have a feeling that's what it's going to be for quite a while.
Aaron Rodgers used to be there. He is not there anymore.
Aaron Rodgers is not on the top of that list anymore. And I think some other guys have started to, that you thought were going to be there. Jalen Hurts, I think people were starting to put there. I don't think I would anymore. I think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, and I think he's a top 15 quarterback. I don't think I'm putting him in the top 5 conversation. Justin Herbert, I don't think I'm putting him in the top 5 conversation, which a lot of people had in previous seasons. And so we are in this era now, and when we were talking mid-season a lot about these young quarterbacks and what Jaden Daniels was doing and what Bo Nix was doing, and when Drake May came in and what Caleb was doing in early in the season and things like that, when I've talked to so many people around the league, and they kept saying, like, we need this next group of young guys because we have Josh Allen and Joe and all of them. And then the ones that were supposed to be that next, and a Trevor Lawrence and a Justin Herbert and a Jalen Hurts and a Tua, haven't really lived up to what people hoped they would be. And so the NFL now is just begging for this next group of guys to compete with those top 4.
I love this comment off the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, which you can get in on the conversation at 904-641-1010. This is from 651. The MVP is obviously Mahomes until he retires. He's the Jordan of his generation. We look for reasons to give the MVP award to other people. And certainly as we look at your tiers, Taylor, I mean, it's Mahomes Mountain, in the words of Nick Wright of Fox Sports. To which I said to the texter, I said, it's kind of like how LeBron doesn't win MVP all that much anymore because we've just kind of like accepted he's there.
Yeah.
He's the best player in the world, even at age 40. And it just kind of, it is what it is. Despite the fact that the Lakers would not exist without LeBron James and their current iteration, or at the very least would not be a competitive football or competitive basketball team. Sorry, RJ. I know this is very difficult for you to hear. But also, to 651's point, the Chiefs would be a 500 team with a different quarterback.
Oh, definitely. And I think Patrick Mahomes drastically changed that team. But I'm not giving the MVP of a regular season to someone who has half the amount of touchdowns of everybody else and double the amount of interceptions. I'm just not doing it.
Right. But he's still in the top 5.
Oh, I mean, he'll be number 1, but that doesn't make you the MVP of the regular season.
Correct.
Like, you are the best quarterback in the NFL. And I think that Isn't
that wild, though?
You can win 15 games and still only have 26 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. And so, yes, you are doing something incredible. I do also think that between Andy Reid and between the defense and between them, just really, like, it's almost there's so much in people's heads that Patrick Mahomes can throw 8 picks in his first 8 games and still win.
Well, the Chiefs' defense is a lot better than these other teams we're talking about. Like, the Chiefs' defense is better than the Bengals by far.
The Bengals have the 31st.
The Ravens didn't have a great defense. Normally they do. They didn't have a great defense this season. The Bills have a better defense, but they also had some injuries throughout the season. The Chiefs, have a much better defense. Unfortunately, sometimes the MVP can come down to a stats comparison.
Yeah.
But I do think that highlight-wise, this year, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow had more highlights than Patrick Mahomes, and that's what eventually people are voting on. But if you were to ask any NFL executive, which of those quarterbacks would you take to start a team tomorrow?
Oh, it'd be
100%
Isn't
would
it
say
insane, though, where,
Mahomes.
like, he's the best player,
Yeah.
but he's not the MVP? Like,
Yeah.
again, it
What
happens in lots of sports, but it is just fascinating if you look at it just simply as you state that sentence.
Because I also, even yesterday, we were going through, Lauren, a conversation of the run game and how certain aspects can help the run. And this was honestly about Liam Cohen and what he did with the run game in Tampa, because they had a top 5 run offense this last season. And we were talking about how important that is and how the Jaguars need to go that route too. But the Kansas City was one of the outliers of the bottom 10 rushing offenses in the league. And the other ones around that, it was like the Rams, the Chiefs, and the Seahawks were the only winning teams that were in that category. And then the Bengals had the second worst run game in the league. And Joe Burrow was still able to do what he was able to do. Patrick Mahomes in the 10th worst, and he was still able to do what he was going to do. So you do have to factor into some of those, because it wasn't like they were like, oh, they can run the ball like crazy, so it makes it easy for Patrick Mahomes and all of these things. But I do think that, yes, it's one of those situations where we know, like, Tom Brady wasn't winning the MVP of the regular season every year either.
It's the same exact thing.
I think they're separate things. You can say this is the best player in the NFL without saying they were the MVP of that particular season.
Right, like Michael Jordan only won the MVP in 88, 91, 92, 96, 98. Like,
yeah, that's all.
Are you telling me
pretty good?
Are you telling me a couple of those years though that he wasn't the best? Right,
yeah.
like he was the best player in basketball.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's a weird thing in sports, and we're just reliving.
And like
through
I
the
said,
cycle
that
again.
Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes has some of those. So he's like, take your normal MVP.
And if you're Josh Allen, I think you would be A-okay.
Yeah,
with
taking
first
that
and foremost slaying the dragon at Arrowhead this weekend, and secondly, if you're holding Lombardi when all is said and done.
Of course. And it really doesn't matter how you play. I mean, obviously the quarterback adds to it, but if Josh Allen has terrible stats and his team somehow still beats the Chiefs, he doesn't care.
No.
He doesn't care if he wins the MVP. All right, we'll give you our Terminex pest of the day when we return. You're listening to Helmets and Heels on a Thursday on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
1010XL takes you behind the microphone.
Are you not aware that I get farty and bloated with a foamy latte?
Oh, yeah.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
I'm a hot habanero pepper right now.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Mia here for MyBookie. It's win or go home with the AFC and NFC finals this weekend, so build your bankroll for the big game. The NFL playoffs are the ticket to the biggest game of the year, and all roads lead to New Orleans. This is your chance to get in on every high-stakes moment along the way. Your road to New Orleans starts now with MyBookie, the ultimate destination for bettors who want more. Whether you're backing the underdogs or riding with the favorites, every drive, every touchdown, every moment is an opportunity to win big. Kick off your 2025 right with risk-free Thursdays. Place a bet, and if it doesn't hit, MyBookie has your back. Dive into the Bet Boost tab to supercharge your picks and build that bankroll before the big game. MyBookie's online casino keeps the excitement going 24/7. Blackjack, roulette, slots, it's all there. Whether you're celebrating a big win or gearing up for the next round. Haven't joined? Now is the time. Use promo code 1010XL on your first deposit, and MyBookie will hook you up with an instant 50% deposit bonus because you deserve to start the new year off strong. Don't forget that promo code 1010XL on your first deposit, only with MyBookie.
Why buy from Hodges Mazda at the Avenues? Because they strive to ensure a satisfying and comfortable car buying experience. And now they're giving back. Lauren Brooks here. Hodges Mazda wants to say thank you to all educators, first responders, and healthcare providers by offering a complimentary oil change and car wash. Simply call them today or schedule online at HodgesMazda.com. This is all part of the Hodges Mazda difference. Come experience that for yourself. Visiting them online at HodgesMazda.com. Free oil change not to exceed $79.99. Excludes diesel vehicles. Expires January 31st, 2025. See dealer for complete details.
An ACL tear can be a devastating injury with prolonged pain and rehabilitation. Hi, I'm Dr. George Bari. I'm a sports medicine orthopedic surgeon who grew up right here in Jacksonville and then went on to train with the world-renowned Dr. James Andrews. At Bari Orthopedics, we use the most current techniques to get you back in the field with less pain and quicker rehabilitation. We treat all types of sports injuries with the newest techniques available. Please call us for consultation or visit BariOrthopedics.com.
Find out more at BariOrthopedics.com. That's BAHRI Orthopedics.com.
Is your dog Team Rough or Team Fluff? It's officially Puppy Bowl season at Dogtopia Beach in St. John's Bluff. They're getting MVPs, most valuable pups, ready for the big game. Your dog deserves a tail-wagging day of fun, and Dogtopia's indoor playrooms are the perfect training ground for their game day moment. Get your dog in on all the action by visiting Dogtopia of Jacksonville, Beach Boulevard, and St. John's Bluff. New to the pack? Enjoy a free day of daycare. Mention Puppy Bowl when booking to claim the offer.
Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialist congratulating our Scholar Athlete of the Week, Ben Ward, senior basketball player at Atlantic Coast High. Ben is a member of the National English and Spanish Honor Societies and has applied and been accepted at several major universities. Congratulations, Ben.
We're certainly facing interesting economic times. For me, it's comforting to know my money's in good hands with ITP Partners. Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. Experience? Yeah, that's Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, Scott Regner, Janice Cobb, and Reed Wingate. They have the expertise and knowledge to take care of your money. For more info, go to itppartners.com. ITP Partners, they're my financial partners for life.
Non-compensated client testimonial may not be representative of all client experiences. No guarantee of future performance or success.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at over $2,600 per ounce. Pay bills. Buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
New year, new boat. The Jacksonville Boat Show is January 24th, 25th, and 26th at the Prime Osborne Convention Center. Make your boating dream a reality this year. Deals on boats and accessories, fishing seminars, kids events, and more. The Jacksonville Boat Show, presented by ViStar Credit Union. Tickets at boatjacks.com. That's boatjacks.com. Come buy a boat.
When you head out for a night with friends or going to the big game, don't forget the best game plan to win the night is to designate a driver and guarantee a safe ride home. Hydrating between buds is the best play you can make. Bud Light, reminding all to drink wiser.
If golf is your thing, you'll want to check out the 2025 Hills Pass at Hidden Hills Golf Club. Unlimited golf, including golf car, and preferred tee times for just one low price. Visit us at hiddenhillsgc.com to purchase your Hills Pass today.
D1 Training East Jacksonville invites you to their mega NFL football camp at the Bowl School February 1st from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Ages 7 through 16. Get hands-on coaching from former NFL players at every single station. The coaches lineup put together by Connor and Sam at D1 is proudly sponsored by Tim Tebow. To sign up, call 904-901-6470.
Hey, David again with Royal Pest Services. TAP Insulation stands for thermal, acoustic, and pest control. Keep your home cool, noise out, and pests dead. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to schedule a free inspection.
Make a resolution this new year to send all of your friends or family a Kuhn Flowers floral arrangement. RJ Saunders here with 1010XL, and okay, how about sending just one person you love a floral arrangement? Kuhn Flowers can handle it.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Turn this one up, RJ. We need to hear it.
Boy, you sure look good there.
This is Jody Messina's Bye Bye. Our songs have had a little bit of a theme today because Shad Khan finally said goodbye to General Manager Trent Baalke.
This is my karaoke song, by the way.
And I was going to say, I believe this is one of your karaoke songs.
It is.
I feel like we've talked a lot about karaoke in the show, and we've never actually done karaoke, so need to put that on
I think
the
we
books.
need to hold on, bye-bye. That's why I want to just hear the bye-bye. We need to tell the sales department, maybe that's our next live show, is do a lunchtime karaoke.
Ooh, lunchtime.
Lunchtime
I'm still out?
karaoke.
Oh, I don't know
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Are we drunk?
I mean, I'll sing with or without booze, so I'm ready to go.
Time now for our Terminex Pest of the Day. Terminex came out to our house because we've been having some issues with pests, and they took care of all of those issues. They will do the same for you. You can find them online at Terminex.com, Terminix.com. And there's a reason that they take care of places like Everbank Stadium and Daly's Place and ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena. All those great concert venues because they do such a great job, and you won't have to deal with pests or rodents. Today's Pest of the Day, I could have already picked him for one of these bad boys. Jimmy Butler, who missed the team flight, was supposed to go with the Miami Heat.
Again?
Again. He wants, obviously, to be traded away from Miami. We all understand that. But you know what? When you get paid a lot of money and you have a contract, I think you have to do what your contract specifies, and that is, fly with your team and don't miss the team flight. Is there more to it? I'm sure. But like I said, I believe that when you're paid to do a job, you should do that job to the best of your ability. And until you're traded, which they may not trade you, you're just going to be, a whiny baby about the whole situation? Come on, man.
That is Jimmy Butler. The same thing happened in Chicago. It was almost exact same ending to what was going on. And that is his personality when things are going great and you're winning and he's happy. He's fun and quirky and having a great time. And he made his little emo hair and made music videos, and he's fantastic. The moment things are not going the way that Jimmy Butler wants them to do. And let me also just preface this by saying I love buckets. His time in Chicago, as a roller coaster as it was, he's fantastic and he's fun to watch. But yes, you also this is a business, and they want to use that term all the time when they're taking big contracts and when they're leaving one team to go to another. And it's a business, but then they don't want to act like it's a business when they're not getting their way.
Right. So he was already suspended 7 games by the Miami Heat, and this one now a 2-game suspension. We'll see how it all plays out, but certainly bad blood down there between Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley, the GM of the Heat.
RJ, does he go somewhere else?
Or do they hold him hostage?
Yeah.
I don't think they want to hold him hostage. I do believe that they do want better offers, as from what is being said throughout league circles. All the offers suck right now, as well as the fact that Bradley Beal is someone that the Miami Heat do not want in return for that of Jimmy Butler, because they do not want to take on his contract for the next couple of years, as I believe they want to kind of use that money that'll be available to them to probably get a much younger star. The whole Jimmy Butler thing is interesting. It could be a 2-year process. If Jimmy Butler wants out that badly, he can opt in next year for $50 million. And he could stay in Miami, collect his money, because they still have to pay him every red cent of it. But if he does want out of Miami that bad, he can opt out. The team in which he goes to, however, it'll be an interesting conversation to have, because I've tried to think about it, and I've even said who. My sleeper team, if I had to choose a team that he could go to, if there was a sleeper, send him off to New Orleans. I think New Orleans wants to do a fire sale, and that includes guys like Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, C.J. McCollum. Do you take the contract of a guy like Zion? Don't know. Brandon Ingram's a very interesting player to have, but does he contribute to winning? Not really. So Jimmy's kind of in a catch-22 with all of this, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better, in my opinion.
All right, for more on that, always listen to Open Gym with RJ Saunders on Saturdays. Let's cool down before we say hello to Laura Rutledge on the other side.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
My cool down is take a deep breath. Please visit all the 1010XL social channels. We're pumping out content throughout this fast and furious, one of the craziest 36 hours I've seen in the 6+ years I've been covering this franchise in this town. And go watch Florida basketball, because they are fun, even if they do play with fire and struggle to get a lead early. But they always find a way late, Lauren Brooks.
That was a fun game last night, for sure. I was nervous and definitely thought Florida was going to lose for most of the game. Even about 5 minutes left, honestly, I thought, well, they tried hard. They battled at South Carolina. But in the end, Florida did find a way. Thank you, Will Richard, who's been battling an injury, actually, but came up clutch. All right, on the other side, Laura Rutledge from ESPN awaits. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
1010XL is your home for Jacksonville University basketball.
The Dolphins take their 5-game win streak north of the Florida-Georgia line. JU West Georgia, tonight at 7 on 1010 AM.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Mia here. New Year's resolutions are upon us, but let's be honest. By February, that gym membership will just be a $50 per month guilt trip. Why not take that cash and finally fix that leaky faucet, unclog that drain, or tune up that AC? Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning has your back. Visit duckduckrooter.com or call today, 904-862-6769. Start the year off fresh. No leaks, no clogs, no excuses. Duck Duck Rooter, 904-862-6769.
Discover the difference that local expertise makes at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Visit their showroom at the Avenues and browse high-quality products to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness at First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Start your week with a Hall of Fame breakfast.
Wow, I'm hungry. How about you?
Join Dan Hicken, Jeff Prosser, and Jags Hall of Famer Tony Bazzelli for tons of football talk. Brought to you by Heritage Roofing of North Florida. Monday mornings at 7:20 on 1010XL.
This is Hayes Carline for First Florida Credit Union. I bank with First Florida Credit Union because I trust them. I can always count on them when it comes to the vast services they provide. First Florida Credit Union was voted Best Credit Union in the 2024 Best of Bold City Community Choice Awards, and it's easy to see why. I go to the branch off 210 in St. Johns County and the new Durbin location, but they have 10 branches in the Jacksonville area. You need to be banking with First Florida Credit Union. They're enriching people every day. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
Hey gang, Prosser here. If you think you have problems related to the need to sell your home, we have solutions. And by we, I don't mean me. I mean ChadandSandy.com. That's Chad, A-N-D, Sandy.com. Call them today at 904-414-6200. Look, the problems could fall into a variety of areas. Maybe you want guaranteed no-hassle home sale, but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. Maybe you need more space with a growing family. Doesn't matter what the problems are. You go to Chad and Sandy. Those problems are fixed. With all the recent talk about interest rates and economic uncertainty, you may be wondering if now is the right time to sell your home. Will you get the price you need? What about repairs or showings? The good news, you don't have to figure it out by yourself. You call my agents, Chad and Sandy Newman. They will deliver. Your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. No required cost of repairs. Pick your move date. No long-term contracts. The success stories are rolling in from all over town. Find out for yourself. Call Chad and Sandy today. That's Chad, A-N-D, Sandy.com.
Start your new year off healthy. Get screened at Ackerman Urology for common cancers of the prostate, bladder, and kidney. Early detection is key with 5 locations across Northeast Florida. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
Are you embarrassed by your ugly, cracked concrete driveway? Stop by Stone Core on Phillips Highway for all your outdoor living needs. Let them show you how a durable paver driveway can enhance your home. Visit stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
North Florida is growing with lots of new families joining our community. If you're one of them making the move here, your next move should be a call to American Electrical to create the best home automation system, enhancing your living experience. There are many ways your life can be made easier through smart home technology, voice-activated systems, automated lighting, total house temperature control. With American Electrical, they've got everything you need to automate your home and make it your true oasis. Check out American-Electrical.com. powered by professionalism and raising the excellence bar.
When you need a mechanic you can trust, call Sam, Harry, or Joe at AA Automotive on Richard Street. From oil changes to complex engine repairs, AA Automotive promises expert service and honest pricing from a local family biz. AA Automotive on Richard Street.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. Around this time last year, I was celebrating. Why? Because I had reached my goal of dropping 40 pounds with Awaken 180. It felt great. We all set goals, but most times we don't have a plan to hit them. So it's not really a goal. I'd call it more of a wish, and we know how that saying goes. With Awaken 180, I didn't wish the weight away. I had a plan, and this time I knew I'd reach my goal, and I did it. 40 pounds gone in just 2 months. Simple. That was a year ago, and I haven't put on a pound. How do I feel? Like $1 million. Like the horizon line that looked so far away all those years is now right in front of me. And it's a brand new day. And it's time to seize it. Night and day from where I felt carrying around all that weight, having to untuck my shirts, winded trying to tie my shoes. If you're overweight, you know what I mean. Set your goal and know you'll reach it with the solution for weight loss. Call 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
Just can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends.
Me O'Brien, Taylor Dollar, Jay Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Kings all back together. And listening to, of course, little Willie Nelson on the road again because one Trent Baalke, I suppose, is on the road again. I highly doubt he'll get another GM position in the league, but you never know. I'll never rule anything out at this point in time, but that's what I would imagine.
Yeah, and we are on the road in Jacksonville now looking for a new head coach and general manager, and I think the general manager side of it, a lot of people have been hoping for a couple seasons. The head coaching was probably more of a midway through this season. People started changing their mind on the Doug Peterson side of things, and so I do think at this point, Lauren, when we were talking at the top of the show about what's next and which direction do we go and who is next, we don't know. And so there's only so many discussions we can have about the draft until we know who is going to be drafting. And there's only free agents and all of those things. So I like I said, I don't want them to rush into this. I don't want them to be like, well, we're 2 weeks late, so now let's just hit the button and hire somebody. I don't want it to be like that. But at the same time, there is a time frame here because you have to now find a coach, GM, and start building a staff and start getting ready for a combine who will be at the end of February.
Our friend DJ Dell on the text line, Designed by Lifetime Enclosures, put a nice edit together for you, Lauren, of today's Terminex Pest of the Day. It's Trent Baalke with a nice arrow striked through his face.
That's
a little fly swatter.
That crossed my mind, but I feel like Trent's taken enough heat in the last, not just 2.5 weeks, but the last really few years with the clown movement and everything like that. So I decided to go in a different direction. As we wait for Laura Rutledge, her colleague had some really interesting things to say and an idea that he had for the Jaguars trading Trevor Lawrence to an in-division rival.
The Titans, I would call the Jacksonville Jaguars and try to trade for Trevor Lawrence. And if I was Trevor Lawrence, I would want the absolute heck out of Jacksonville.
I don't have no problem with that.
I would want the absolute heck out of the mess that is the
my
Jacksonville
challenge
Jaguars
to you, though,
right
Dan, here's my problem with that, Dan. Be reasonable. I'm going to trade my quarterback within the division.
If you're Jacksonville, first of all, if I'm Trevor Lawrence, I am spurring this. Like, if I want out of Jacksonville. And if you're Tennessee, and realistically, we're sitting here and we're trying to get all this rebuild, and I would be someone to tell you, I think Tennessee's got a decent football roster. Better than the first pick worthy type roster. Shador, and I haven't studied Shador and Cam well enough to make a definitive statement on where exactly I think they might be or whatnot. And Travis Hunter special. You don't matter in that conference unless you get a quarterback. As special as Travis Hunter is.
You don't matter in the sport. You don't matter in the sport.
So, and you got to rebuild Trevor Lawrence's mindset and his psyche and his confidence. But if I'm Tennessee and I'm looking at it all, I'm calling Jacksonville and saying, okay, because you don't know what's going on in Jacksonville. It's a mess right now.
So to that point, if you need a quarterback to compete,
Why would
you trade away Trevor Lawrence, who at bare minimum, as we've said on this show, at bare minimum is middle of the pack, right? At the very least, he is an NFL quarterback. Dan admitted he hasn't studied Shedeur Sanders. He hasn't studied Cam Ward. So if the Jaguars go up to 1, you're saying that they would just take Travis Hunter and then not have a quarterback themselves?
Yeah, that certainly doesn't make sense. And I don't think there's anyone who would take, outside of maybe some crazy Colorado or Miami fans, that would take Shedeur or Cam over Trevor Lawrence. Is Trevor Lawrence a perfect product, polished product to this point? No, we thought he would be farther ahead than he is. But at the same time, he's learned so much over the last 4 years, right? And I understand the injuries are being a little bit of a concern, or causing a little bit of a concern for a lot of fans and for people who study NFL quarterbacks. I get that. I do understand the injury part. But I do think he's learned also to avoid some of those injuries. Shedeur and Cam are going to come into this league, and they're not going to know anything about how to study NFL defenses yet. They're going to have to learn a new playbook. All of that on top of how, especially for Shedeur, how crazy his off-the-field life is as far as being a famous person and his dad being a famous person and all those things. And then Cam Ward certainly was great this season, but we saw the warts from him too. So I do think that people underestimate how much the experience under Trevor's belt is going to help him moving forward.
Yeah. To begin, Dan Orlovsky gets on my nerves sometimes.
Some people on the text line,
It drives me insane.
Well, yeah, because that's a bogus idea.
And it's been all season with both of the teams I root for, very outlandish takes he has. And sometimes and then he's been caught also saying things that then people come back and be like, wait, literally 2 months ago you said this, and what do you mean by this, and whatever. And so one of them, for example, was he went on this rant recently about how a young offensive mind may not be the best for Chicago because of da-da-da-da-da, and he goes on this whole rant, and then someone pulls up a clip from a month ago or this time last year before they traded Justin Fields, and he was like, you need to bring a young offensive mind in for Justin Fields. That's the best thing for a young quarterback. And so he does things like that a lot, so I can't figure out totally if he just changes his mind a lot and kind of goes back and forth, or if he truly knows people will start paying attention and listen to this stuff, so he says some stuff to get attention. This comment was
was on First Take too, so yeah. I mean, it's kind of...
This comment was clearly geared more towards the Tennessee Titans, and like I said, league-wide yesterday, people were mocking the Jaguars of how here's another example of how dysfunctional they are. So I feel like that comment was more so showing that. This organization doesn't know how to develop quarterbacks and doesn't know how to fire people when it's time to fire them and doesn't know how to do this, this, and this. So send him to Tennessee so it will be the best thing for Trevor is what I think Dan was saying in this. But I don't even agree with that side of it personally.
I don't agree with that either. I would understand if it was a team, let's say like the Steelers.
Yeah.
Let's say the Steelers were moving on. Okay, that
makes sense.
I can understand your logic. But again, the Jaguars, Shad Khan loves Trevor Lawrence from everything that we can tell. He's not ever going to trade him away. Speaking of the Titans, by the way, their president of football operations, Chad Brinker, told reporters yesterday they will not pass on a quote-unquote generational talent with the first pick in the draft. So that, of course, has everyone wondering.
Mm-hmm. Which one is generational?
Do they believe either the quarterbacks, those two that we just talked about, are generational, or
is
are they
it Travis Hunter?
About a guy that can play both wide receiver and corner potentially in the league in a Travis Hunter? Does the new staff new GM? Does he believe that Will Levis is the answer? I have no idea.
No, I wouldn't think so. And especially when you're armed with the number 1 overall pick. I do not
I hope.
I do not see
I hope they think Will Levis.
Especially knowing, where Mike Borgonzi's coming from. I mean, this is the same front office that with Brett Veach at the helm and Borgonzi as one of his direct reports. Very much was in on Patrick Mahomes before the rest of the world, let alone the rest of the NFL.
I saw a chart, and I mentioned briefly this on the show, I think early this week or last week, I saw one where it was like effective cap space compared to the snaps entering unrestricted free agency. And I mentioned that because the Vikings, the Commanders, and the Dolphins lead with almost 50% of their roster snaps hitting free agency this season. The Titans are the 10th most, too. So, it's not like they're in some position where they're about to lose. It's almost 32.5% of their roster is hitting free agency. The Jags, by the way, have the fewest. They're tied with the Patriots, the Packers, and the Broncos with only about 12.5% of their roster projected to hit that unrestricted free agency. So, there's a lot of things. They have to figure out a quarterback. They have a lot of their roster leaving. They have a lot of other issues that you can look at. So it's so weird to me that you'd think Trevor Lawrence would leave here and go there, and all of a sudden he would look like an elite guy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's say hello to our first guest.
Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line. Hello. We can wiggle it.
The busiest woman in all of television, let alone sports, as my boyfriend Kevin likes to refer to her as. Laura Rutledge, kind enough to join us for a few moments here on the Garber Auto Mall phone line. Thank you for joining us, friend. How's it been going?
Thanks for having me, Mia.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate it. Let's get right to it. You've been traveling the country, whether it's for college football coverage, NFL coverage, of course, NFL Live coming up a little bit later today. You give us your 30,000-foot view, 360-degree view. Trent Baalke finally ousted in Jacksonville. The national perspective on Shad Khan's move yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's about time, but unfortunately it seems like too little too late when it comes to recruiting Ben Johnson potentially as the head coach there, which all signs had pointed to Ben Johnson actually wanting to go to Jacksonville. I think there's a lot of reasons why, a great quarterback like Trevor Lawrence being top of the list. But, again, so much of the reporting and so much of what we hear has been that people said they didn't want to work with Trent Baalke. So you wish that move would have been made a little sooner. It's really interesting that it was finally made yesterday. I do hope for Jacksonville that it opens up opportunity for people, maybe some coaches that wouldn't have been interested prior that are still out there. There's still plenty of big names, good names that I think would be a good fit there. And maybe that, of course, hopefully paves a way for some of these guys.
Laura, some of those names you're talking about, because we obviously the last 2-3 weeks have been talking about a lot of them, but now more so that Ben Johnson and Liam Cohen are off the table. The Robert Saleh, a Graham, those have been talked about, but other names like a Joe Brady, like a Todd Monken, a Cliff Kingsbury, who hasn't talked to anybody and won't until after once they are out of the postseason. What names of those stick out the most to you and the best fit for Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think Robert Saleh is really interesting to me. Now, I know some people would say, well, don't you need an offensive mind to kick that offense into high gear with Trevor, but I actually don't worry about that as much. I do think that he's so well respected. He could get a great offensive coordinator in there and hopefully somebody who would put Trevor Lawrence in the best position to succeed. So I like Saleh the best if he's interested. It sounded like as of yesterday that maybe that would be the case, especially after the Baalke move. So I think he's somebody that, you look at what happened with the Jets, and I just don't know that any of that was really Robert Saleh's fault from what we've heard and gathered since, right? So I think he's a great leader. I think he's somebody who, with the defensive mind, that can't hurt either. But he knows how to run a team. He also knows how to run a team in a really high-pressure environment of New York. The Jacksonville environment's a lot different, but I know that fans are frustrated, right? They want to win. They felt like they were close even a couple of years ago, and then we saw things go backwards. So I like him the best. And then I would throw Todd Monken in there as well as somebody who I know he's got the offensive side, and, certainly the experience with the Ravens has been great for him, being able to learn under Harbaugh, experience that, as well as even some of what he did at a high level in the college game. But for me with him, I think he's just prepared to deal with a lot. If you ever talk to Todd Monken, he's somebody who just doesn't take a lot of crap from people. He's really well-spoken. He's a great coach. He's all about learning and developing. And something that stuck out to me even this year was that they did completely remake that Ravens offensive scheme. They kind of built it back up from the ground up, knowing they were getting Derrick Henry, knowing that they wanted things to change a little bit for Lamar. And he was good with that. He wanted to do what was going to suit his players best. So I think he could be really good for Trevor Lawrence in rebuilding some of his confidence at times.
Laura, we were kind of joking earlier because Shad has said and Trevor has said that they want a young offensive mind, and Todd Monken's 58. So is that a little too old and outside of the young category?
No, I actually like that. I think he's been around. He's got experience. He's worked in so many different environments with so many different groups. I think we're seeing more. And look, I mean, Ben Johnson is in this category, right, where he is that young offensive mind that's, going to be a head coach in Chicago. But I do think we're seeing more of these teams say, let's just get somebody who can be a great leader of our team. And I think we'll continue to see that trend grow. I mean, we'll see who all gets hired this hiring cycle. But I'm not sure that everyone would point to these young offensive minds with quarterbacks as being the best pairing even in the past 5 years. There have been a couple of examples of success, but a lot of the time it ends up leading to a coaching change or even a quarterback change. So maybe we just go with who's the best leader and leave it at that.
Laura Rutledge of ESPN, kind enough to join us on the Garber Auto Mall phone line. Laura, I will save you listening back to your friend Dan Orlovsky, since we did listen to the soundbite from First Take earlier this morning.
I've heard it.
Yes. Okay. So we'll dive right into it. Dan, for those who are listening and may have missed it, goes on First Take this morning, and says that the Jaguars should trade should trade Trevor Lawrence to the Titans. So number one, your take on that take. Number two, are you prepared to say you're done with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville?
Okay, so I'll just preface this by saying that I think Dan is one of the best minds in the game. He is an incredible analyst, but I don't agree with this at all. I don't know why he's saying it. I mean, I get it. He's being creative. He's trying to think of something that we're not hearing everywhere, but I don't think this makes sense at all. I mean, to me, Trevor Lawrence is somebody who Jacksonville's invested in. Shad Khan, all the way up at the top, is invested in, and rightfully so. I still feel like, and I know some fans may be frustrated hearing this, but I still feel like he's right there, and it just hasn't worked out for him for a variety of reasons. The pairing with Doug Peterson felt like it would be the right move, right, for all the reasons that we all know, and yet ultimately he wasn't in a spot where he could have the success that we all predicted when he was coming out of college. But it's not far off, It's decision-making in the red zone. It's all types of things that, matter when it comes down to winning these games that he hasn't been able to get through. But yet there's still so many times where you see him make these throws that you're like, my God, there it is, And what I would say is if you're a Jaguars fan and you're thinking you're ready to move on from Trevor Lawrence, and this isn't an exact comparison, but think about Sam Darnold and how good he looked in the regular season for the Vikings. The last thing you want to do is see Sam Darnold go somewhere else. Trevor Lawrence go somewhere else and start killing it. And I think that could be possible. So I think it's more about getting the right guy in there in Jacksonville and making it work there. The Titans don't make sense to me. I think Jacksonville is actually better set up for success than Tennessee is right now.
Yeah, Laura, we were just having a similar conversation of how the teams are built to this point and what makes more sense. But when we're talking about that, the coaching hiring and now a general manager hiring too, one of the things that Shad Khan did say in his statement was that he was going to use Ethan Waugh, and who was already here, retain him. He was going to help in the search for a coach, and then they would look for a general manager. What are your thoughts on that process and how Shad Khan's decided to do that?
Yeah, it's interesting because they're a little late to the game, right? Had they just went ahead and moved on from Baalke at the beginning of this cycle or even a little bit earlier, right around the time as Doug Peterson even, maybe they would have gotten a head start on some of these guys. But I think it shows that whoever the coach is, they're willing to have a lot of input from that person on general manager type duties. Now, not that the GM wouldn't have a lot of those duties in himself, which he would, but it sounds like they are most concerned with the coach, and then they're going to figure out what they're going to do from the scouting and team building standpoint, which there are a few things there, as you well know, to figure out.
Yeah, certainly. All right, Laura, before we let you go, just need to know, have you given any baby advice to one Tim Tebow?
Oh, my goodness. No advice yet, except for that, enjoy every little moment, even of the pregnancy, because it's so special. It's such a gift. I'm so happy for Tim and Demi. It was actually really funny. We were in the elevator at a recent event, and he said to me, I just want to let you know I'm not going to be able to make it to SEC Media Days this year. And I was like, oh, that's okay, Tim. It's fine. It's just media days. It's important, but we'll see you when the season starts. And then he said, well, I can't make it because we're having a baby. I was just freaking out, so excited for them, and just praying that everything goes well and they're going to be awesome parents. That's the understatement of the year.
I love it. We'll miss Tim at SEC Media Days this year. Looking forward to seeing you there, as well as the NFL Combine coming up in a few weeks, hopefully as well. But I do want to ask you, before we let you go, Laura, just a real quick question in the college ranks. Your reaction to Ohio State winning the national championship, and perhaps any SEC teams that you cover who you would say, that's a team to keep your eye on going into 2025.
Yeah, congratulations for Ohio State. It's well-deserved. And what they went through this year with losing to Michigan and then having to build the thing back up, and the way that they dominated throughout the playoff run is pretty remarkable, especially considering it was an expanded year, the first time of really knowing what that would be like and being able to weather that. And I think Ryan Day deserves a ton of credit. They were such a fun team to watch. I mean, even a guy like Jack Sawyer, who grew up an Ohio State fan, grew up just down the road from Ohio State, and to be able to live out that dream, it was really special. And then as for some SEC teams to watch, there's a few, right? I think Texas is going to be right back in the mix again. Arch Manning taking over. We finally get to see that. Finally, the questions of when are we going to see Arch will subside. And Georgia's another one that continues to add on the offensive side and the portal and all of that so far. So, again, it sounds kind of like the regulars. And then I would just throw this out there. I would not count out Florida this coming season of being much improved. We saw that happen in a pressure-packed year for Billy Napier already. I think there's a lot that we could be excited about with Florida, and it all starts at the quarterback position, certainly. But I think it's looking up there in Gainesville, which I'm excited about.
Music to our listeners' ears. Laura Rutledge, thank you so much for taking some time. Look forward to hopefully seeing you in a few weeks, and hopefully it's just not in the Prime Steakhouse bathroom line. Hope to catch up then.
Absolutely. I'll see you there.
Thank you, Laura. Again, of course, you can watch her on NFL Live Monday to Friday, on the sidelines of Monday Night Football, select other playoff games. She is quite literally everywhere. I will tell her when I see her in February that one of Kevin's favorite hobbies these days is literally seeing her Instagram story and going, can this woman please just have an opportunity to be with her children and go home and hang out in her house? And no, Laura's on the go, and she's keeping us covered everything NFL and college football. Before we get out of here,
now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. Find the coolest cats in town at coolcatsjacks.com.
Matt, news broke during y'all's show yesterday. Are you still having a celebration?
Just when you think Jag couldn't jag more. It's just, it's crazy. They literally find way after way after way of stumbling over themselves. Be it on the field, be it off the field, everything. Just a nightmare. But end of the day.
There we go.
End of the day.
Lauren's been waiting for that the whole show.
What had to
Everyone's
happen?
been critical of Trent Baalke.
Yes.
He's gone, and now no one wants to say, "Oh, good." Now
At the
everyone wants
end
to
of
say,
the day,
"What's
you're
too
not
late?"
Feel free to do it at the right time for
Right.
once.
You're not like, how are they going to screw up free agency this time? How are they going to screw up the draft this time? Now it's like you got fresh eyes on everything.
Exactly.
Yes.
Hopefully, there's a new GM and there's fresh eyes. That would be nice.
You still got to hire right.
Yeah,
Right.
even if it was Ethan Waugh, it's still a different GM, although I know that's not the way people want to go. What's coming up?
Not with the best email.
You need a completely
Yeah.
different GM.
Clean slate.
Yes.
You mean the 85 people that Shad doesn't want to fire and have to clear house? Clean slate? What does
You know
that
what?
mean?
Let him do it. That's his job.
I agree. I'm with you.
His job would be
listen,
to do all of that.
I said I've reported it and I've said it for weeks. There are people among those 85, Matt, who would tell you because they have invested their hard working sweat and equity into this city, this franchise. They know they may have to step aside, and it's the best thing long term.
It's 5-17. That's all you got to say.
Right.
Honestly, you cannot have
because
one
they
season
believe in this
next.
franchise.
Yeah.
They even know you may have to step aside, except the owner doesn't want to clear out 85.
Anyway, we're talking
payrolls.
about that. We're talking about. So I wrote something at USA Today. It's published now about Jeremiah Smith that would be financially reckless of him to not hit the portal and see what the market will bear. He can still go back to Ohio State, but for him to not hit the portal, not see what someone will pay him, considering he has 2 more years before he can get to the NFL and start to earn real money, he has to do that.
1-year contracts, baby.
Yeah, that's what they
That's
are.
all it is.
All right, thanks, Matt. We'll be listening.
Thank you, ladies.
That'll do it for us today. We do appreciate Laura Rutledge from ESPN joining us. If you missed that, head to On Demand. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow. It's a Football Friday. We will talk all about those conference championships on 1010XL 92.5 FM.